Hi everybody, it's Kristjan from Base, and we're back with this week's 3 hot investment picks from Zoopla. So kicking off today in our sub 500k category, this property really caught my eye. I can't remember actually the last time that I saw a property of this standard at this price. So down in SE5, studio apartment on the market with Your Move at 240,000. In a pretty ordinary, probably 80s, early 90s residential block. It's got communal gardens around it, and then looks to have a decent standard interior. The kitchen looks pretty modern, well laid out. Not sure what the deal is with furniture, but I would try and see if you can get most, if not all, of the furniture chucked in with the purchase. So you got what looks like a standard double. It might be a 3/4. You might just want to inquire on the size of that bed, because really a proper double is preferred. Kitchen diner, makes sense to have a TV up on here. Really nicely specced out bathroom with sort of brushed brass fittings. Easy for me to say, but a really nice big walk-in shower room and garage storage. Now, likelihood is renting that flat out, you'll probably be able to rent the garage separately as storage or for use of a car. Typical person renting a studio like that probably may not need it, and if they do, would be happy to pay a premium. I would expect a property like this to be renting for sort of 12 to 1300 for the flat itself, and then potentially an extra £100 a month or so for the garage. Couple of things to look out for. Ground rent and service charge aren't stated, so you do need to verify what those costs are. There's 91 years left on the lease, so in the near future that lease is going to need to be extended, so you might just want to understand what those costs are, even if it's not something you want to do straight away. It's a chain-free sale as well, which is a great one. One thing to also look out for, EPC grade D. So with the new EPC regulations due to come in, well, at the moment 2025, they are due to probably be postponed to 2028. But you will need to get that close to a C. So that's another thing you might want to understand, is what can you reasonably do to just bump that up one energy rating. But otherwise, like I said, I can't remember the last time I saw a property in London on the market quite this cheap. So I think this is a really good option to pick yourself up a bit of a bargain property in the London investment scene, either to grow or a great place to start a portfolio, and the property pretty much looks ready to go. So that's a good one for you. If you like what you see, get in touch with Your Move in New Cross quick and get your viewings booked in. Now, moving over to our 500k to 750k bracket, we've got a property with, I've got to be honest, one of my favourite agents, Modern House. They pick up some amazing properties up and down the country, and this property in E10 in Leyton is no exception. Now, I've long since been an advocate for delivering exemplary homes for rental properties, giving people that real wow factor and giving them the opportunity to live in a genuinely beautiful home will achieve a premium. And you look at this property and how it's marketed, really stunning kitchens with beautiful terrazzo worktops, lots of light, curb appeal. The front of the property is immaculate, big bay windows, log burner. Literally flicking through these photos, I can't really fault it. A tiered garden, most of it decked and paved with some nice sort of feature shrubbery, so relatively low maintenance, plenty of practical space for people to make use of that throughout the year. I would advise that you would probably need to furnish it in a similar style to really attract those tenants wanting this kind of little lifestyle. You've got a little studio, workshop, work from home office building down the bottom of the garden. It's got that sort of classic mid-century meets modern twist of colour appeal, and I see no reason why, if you present a property like this, obviously top floor potentially would be a bedroom, so it's a proper 3-bed with skylights. I don't see any reason why you couldn't achieve somewhere in the region of £3,000 a month for rent for something like this, presented just right. So on the market at 625, obviously that is a freehold property. It's between 12 and 1300 square foot, nice and close to Leyton High Road tube station, so good transport connections, and yeah, I mean, everything you see there. Now, it's share of freehold with a 90-year lease. Now, normally you would need to be a little bit cautious about the lease and extension, but the fact you've got a share of freehold sitting under that, that should be very easy to resolve as and when you need to, and typically you should only really need to be covering legal costs to facilitate that lease extension. If and as and when you go through that, I would recommend redoing the lease at a 999-year lease, so that is done and dusted for any future property owners. And what you might also want to do is get the other freeholders to go through a similar process with you at the same time. That way you can share the legal costs, driving that cost down, and it just resolves that situation for all leaseholders. I think there's only 2 properties here to consider. So if you like the look of that one, get onto Modern House today, get your offers in, because I think that's going to make quite a spectacular rental property. And obviously with this design as well, the other thing to say, subject to local licensing laws, this obviously very much lends itself to the holiday or short-term rental market. Now, I'm not necessarily talking about people coming in for a weekend or a week, targeting people coming over on short to mid-term work placements of like 1 to 3 months, or coming over because they're working on major events in the UK. A property like this is going to perform really well on websites in that space. So again, subject to local licensing laws, that is another option to drive up the yield on this property. And then last but not least, in our 750 to £1 million price category, this property on the market at 795, located in SE5, pretty much wrapped around by Burgess Park, is this 4-bedroom house in a gated development. It's about 1,600 square foot, which is about 150 square meters, so a really decent size. It's got kind of upside down living. As you can see here, you've got this rather breathtaking sort of barreled ceiling living room up on the top floor of the property, which is vast. I mean, there's 2 big L-shaped sofas in there, and they kind of get dwarfed by this room, leading out to a small balcony with views on the top. Ground floor, you've got this really fantastic sort of kitchen diner area leading out to your ground floor garden. Lots of built-in cabinetry and everything, but a decent sized kitchen in there. You've got 4 double bedrooms, private patio garden with an outbuilding. Again, that outbuilding lends itself to being a really good home office if that's what you wanted, whether you're someone like a personal trainer or someone who wants to have clients pop over and use that as a studio, or whether you legitimately do an office job some, if not all days of the week from home. I do think there's something to be said. Personally, I would be inclined to chuck a bit of money at the patio space, give it a little bit more wow. When you look at the property, I feel the garden is a bit of a damp squid, but I would definitely invest a little bit more money in this. It's already low maintenance, but I would just make it flow a little bit better, zone it a little bit with some nice areas, maybe put in like a little area where you can sit around a fire. And there are questions over whether you should up spec. Now, certain things here, the kitchen, big, lots of cabinets, but starting to look a little bit dated. I mean, it's got granite worktops and beech work and beech doors. Now you might want to go just light, maybe retile the splashbacks, potentially look at some fresh doors just to bring it up to spec. Although I also feel that when you look at the bathrooms, similar kind of issue in inverted commas there, for just starting to look a little bit dated. So I do think there is quite a strong argument for throwing a bit of money at this. Personally, if it was my property, I would be tempted, like I said, to do the patio, but I'd also be tempted to go in and kind of reinvent the kitchen diner and the 2 bathrooms, bring them up to the latest standards, sort of modern design and specification, and kind of future-proof the property for the next 10, 15, 20 years. And you've got here shots of the beautiful Burgess Park that kind of wrap around this property. If we scroll down here to the map, and I expand that, you can see, Burgess Park pretty much on all sides, just off the A2. The property is also sat kind of equidistant between Elephant and Castle, Kennington, Bermondsey, Camberwell. So lots of transport around. You've got the A2 running back up into town, so really good transport links. And I don't see any reason why that property shouldn't be letting for around 4k as it stands. And who knows, get the refurb bang on, and you might even be looking at squeezing that up even a little bit more. So those are our 3 properties for this week. I hope there's something there that you like. Do get in touch with the agents on those properties. Do get in touch to let us know how you got on, if you have been out to view them, and whether or not you made offers, whether or not you're in the process of buying. Always really interesting to hear how people engage with some of the listings that we're sharing. And get in touch in the future if there's anything else.